Just baseball show for Thursday, June 19th. And we got word that the Rays could be in advanced talks to sell the Rays. Stu Sternberg could be out as owner of the Tampa Bay Rays. There's an ownership group, it sounds like based in Jacksonville, that may be in the hunt for that. So we're going to talk about that at the outset. And then we got our first round of balloting for the MLB All-Star game back in. So we'll talk about what's right, what's wrong there, and where we may feel corrections are needed. Arm wrote a piece on Connor Griffin. We'll talk about that at the tail end as well. Again, just baseball show for Thursday, June 19th. I'm Jack. He's Aram. As always, we're brought to you by the fine folks at BetMGM. What do you think of the Red Sox lineup today on Wednesday? It was pretty good, huh?
Huh. It was an interesting one. I think the Christian Campbell experiment in center field is fascinating, but I guess they got to keep trying to put him in different spots. I don't really know how he's supposed to get better defensively at second base if you then throw him into center a little bit too, where he's never actually going to play for you because you have Cedon Rafaela, Jaron Duran. That's a whole conversation. But yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about just talking about the fact that either the Red Sox have, I think, the loudest employees ever that are
Yeah.
just, or a lot of people have a lot of sources. I don't know. It's amazing how many people all of a sudden have scoops and insight and information on what's going on in the Red Sox organization. I know that's not where we were planning to go into this, but you just sparked that thought in my
Yeah.
mind. Like, there's been some really good reporting. I know June Lee really broke it all down, but now it seems like everybody's got a source in the Red Sox organization, which either tells me people are just grabbing low hanging fruit. You can kind of just say anything, or or you got a lot of disgruntled people in that organization. I think it's a little of
100%.
both.
100%. So the question is, how many moles do you have within the organization and how many people are making things up? And like there were some reports that Craig Breslow vehemently denied. And obviously it's easy to deny, but how much of that is embellished and made up and all that? How many people are being fed wrong information? All I know right now is that the Red Sox are in a serious issue right now. They find themselves in a pickle because for some reason everybody has latched onto them around the league and said you're a joke right now, and that may pass in 2 weeks, but I mean it doesn't help when you trade your franchise centerpiece.
So it's funny. I thought that, and I don't want to make this a whole Devers thing again. I'm just fascinated by the optics because we knew it would be optically a bad trade. I didn't, and I knew that they would get ripped for it,
Sure,
but
but like this is opening every can of
I did
worms.
not think it would open this can of worms. And maybe that was naive of me. I figured it would open some, we get some reporting on. I figured the situation between Devers and the team, you knew the team was going to, probably share some things to make it look better optically. You knew that, maybe some players or people around Devers may fire back, but I didn't think it would result in this. I think just opening up of all of these. I mean, how is this now turned into the fact that we're talking about the interview process for the Red Sox and them using an AI bot? Like,
I don't know. I
how did
think
the Rafael Devers trade devolve into a conversation about AI bots and somebody accidentally not muting themselves on Zoom and calling Craig Breslow a stiff? Like, it's crazy that it really sparked. It was like there was a puddle of gasoline that we didn't even know was there, or maybe we thought it was just a few drops of gasoline. And now that Devers trade is the spark that has now ignited a massive fire across the entire org.
it's like the gasoline fight in Zoolander. Did you ever watch Zoolander?
Oh, way back. But yes, I actually do remember what you're talking
The
about.
gasoline fight in Zoolander is one of the best scenes in cinematic history, and it was sad but very funny.
Yeah.
Not really sad because Zoolander is funny and
Yeah.
it's making fun of male supermodels, but that's a better analogy than mine. I was going to say this feels like an improv show where you just have people saying yes and oh by the way they use AI for their interview process. Like oh by the way this is what happens. It feels like every single opportunity someone has to dunk on a specific facet of the Red Sox organization, they'll do it and then they'll pivot to another facet of the organization and dunk on them there.
Well, and I think that was what June Lee's point was, where he's like, it shouldn't be this easy for me to get this information, and I
Right.
shouldn't know all of this. Like he was kind of liking it to when the White House is in disarray, when
Yeah.
more information is coming out of the White House, that means people aren't happy within there, right? And
Right.
so I think that he basically, and that's the interesting part about that story. And I think obviously I trust his reporting. It's so cool to see him back on the fold. It also is fascinating though, just how many other media members out there all of a sudden have some info on what's going on here. So it is very fun, and I am still so upset that the Netflix documentary came a year too early. They may have banged that thing though. They might have just said they might have shut down the Netflix doc if it was going on this year.
Probably. Although following Tristan Casas within his rehab, just watching and reading all this would be hilarious. It's like he pops open Twitter on his phone one morning when he's on the table and he's like, "Oh shit, this is really going down, huh?"
I really wish they did it this year, but it's all right.
It's okay. Staying in the division, I do want to talk about this possible sale of the Tampa Bay Rays. Right now, the Rays have been under fire for the last couple of years. And listen, like I think there are 20 fan bases in Major League Baseball that want their owner to sell the team. I don't think I'm being egregious when I say that. I don't think I'm overestimating. I honestly think unless you are the Dodgers, I mean, dude, like the Yankees want Hal to sell. The Red Sox want John Henry to sell. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like it's crazy to watch how many fan bases want their team to sell. But one team that has kind of had some validity to that is Tampa, just because they've never spent and they didn't spend the money to, make that move to St. Pete final or make that move to Tampa. No, actually, the refurbished one in St. Pete. That's the one,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
They instead moved to Tampa and take on Steinbrenner. Like there were a lot of corners cut in this whole process, and it happened very quickly. And even then, like the reparations to the Tropicana Field roof were like kind of a toss up right now. Nobody knows when they're going to be back. Like there are a lot of issues
Oh yeah.
surrounding the Tampa Bay Rays, and this thing may be, kind of running across the finish line.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely a unique situation there, and I do think when you look across the league, though, if you and this is I'm just assuming, but if you talk to Rob Manfred and maybe some other owners, I'd imagine that Stu Sternberg would be the one that they have circled saying like, hey, if he doesn't start pushing a little bit more and investing a little bit more, that's the guy that we probably want to sell. I don't think that would be shocking because
I would assume
what
him and Bob Nutting in Pittsburgh. Those are the
yes,
two that jump out.
yes, because they've enabled Fisher. That's very clear. And I don't know if we talked about it, but I think it's kind of interesting. Maybe there's a better reason or an explanation why. But removing the reverse boycott game from the archives is like a microcosm of the enabling that I think has been happened that has happened for
Yeah.
John Fisher in Oakland / Vegas / wherever the hell Sacramento. But what's fascinating with this is I think it's not 100% on Stu. I think a lot of it is. I think you also look at the county there, and there's a lot of ineptitude on both sides. They look at them cutting their insurance premium down or like cutting their coverage so that they could have a cheaper premium right before hurricane season. The roof gets destroyed, and now they have way less money to be able to fix the roof and renovate. Like
Right.
that's not Stu. But then on Stu's side, he's been cheap, and you have two parties here that are gonna just kind of bad heads, and I think that's been a big part of the problem. And you just kind of need somebody to jump in here and say, I don't care. Like I understand it's going to take money to turn this franchise around, and I know that they're not bad on the field, but in terms of turning it around, in terms of fan support, all that stuff, you may not be profiting in the first couple of years. You may need to front some cash. I just watched my Florida Panthers win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
12 years ago, all the conversation was, what are they going to do? They may move this team. Attendance was a record low in 2013. You had a new owner, Vincent Viola, come in, and he basically said, I'm going to change things around here. They were mediocre for a couple years and kind of cleaned house, reinvented how they were doing things there, reinvented the marketing side, brought in a good GM. And not only are they winning on the ice, you're seeing attendance up. I think to the point where it's top 5 in the league. You've seen revenue, I think, up several 100%. You're seeing attendance just across the board increase. And I think that's something where now you look at a franchise there that was bought for $250 million, the Florida Panthers, that's now worth 1.5 plus billion. It can be done. And that's a team that plays in Sunrise by the Sawgrass Mall.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear about location and city and whatever. Like Tampa Bay or St. Pete or that larger area can be successful if you actually build a proper infrastructure. And I think the league is probably running tired of what Stu Sternberg is not doing. And the fact that he's just been at this stalemate with the county for so long. And the fact that they were so close. They had that gas lamp district deal on the table.
Right.
It was all ready to go. And that was already something that was like, holy shit, they finally met in the middle. They finally made it happen.
And
And the
was that a cold
slightest,
feet thing?
I think it was the slightest. I was talking to some friends in construction that were talking about how much a delay can actually increase the cost to pull something off. And of course, with the storm and everything, it did delay the construction process. But they also said, and they've worked at companies that actually built stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
They also said, look, at the end of the day, if you wanted to get that deal done, it shouldn't complicate it that much more. To me, it was just a perfect opportunity to get the cold feet and walk away.
Gotcha.
The fact that they say, hey, this is going to be an increase of cost of 10, 15%. Oh, we can't agree now. We're not going to agree on who's going to front that or how it's going to be divided. To me, that's two parties that were not fully invested. At the end of the day, it's on the team to push it across the finish line. And Stu Sternberg just doesn't seem, I think, that desperate or eager to push it across the finish line. He's happy to just kind of sit and collect his revenue sharing money and hope that they, have a special year, which they've had, enough times for him to make enough money.
That's the thing. Like they have, and they have been since 2010, one of the best teams in Major League Baseball by record. So half the battle, I actually think like 60, 70% of the battle is building a winner. You have to put together a good on-field product. So if you have a winner, you think people will come. But Tampa was in a unique situation where they're playing 45 minutes and across a bridge from their market in St. Pete. And the Trop is not a place that's going to pull a bunch of people. Like I haven't been before. I've heard from enough people that it is not a nice ballpark at all. So that's one of the few examples where, okay, you check the box of having a competitive team. They are always competitive because he hired the right guy in Andrew Friedman, who then hired the right guy in Eric Neander and had Peter Bendix under him and had plenty of other people that have been very good in Tampa, Chaim Bloom as well. Like they have found the right people to front the baseball operations side, and they have built a perennial winner, or at least a team that is going to be above 500 every single year. So the other part of that is you got to make sure that your place is a place that people want to come to. And then that fell by the wayside. Like Stu Sternberg just didn't do that. The Rays never did that with the Trop being in St. Pete and being the ballpark that it is. So it was kind of there to be improved for a long time. It hasn't been. You run into a natural disaster which sucks, like flat out stinks. But now, like that almost creates cold feet, and the insurance premium side of that just sucks. And there's a lot of crappy factors that are compounding right now. And it's probably time for new blood to be in charge of the Tampa Bay Rays. Right. It should have never
got there because it took way too long. And then a deal that is so fragilely agreed upon that something can come across and just wipe it all out, and we're back to square one, and actually behind square one because now the Trop isn't even operable.
Right.
Like that part was always going to be an issue, right? They were never going to fix the Trop in time, and they'd be playing at a random stadium right now, but they could have been underway on a new one, and at least you had a solution in sight. Right now, they're in this weird middle ground where it's like, do you even bother trying to fix this thing, or do you just start back from square one and say, hey, where are we going to move the stadium? I think it's ridiculous to relocate the team. I think Tampa is where that team should be. And we've seen another hockey parallel. Look at what the Tampa Bay Lightning have done and downtown. I mean, that's one of the most well-supported teams in all of sports. If you look at just the way that they fill their arena, success was a big part of that. But I think also investing not only in the product on the field, but investing in the product that is the stadium, the fan experience, accessibility, involvement in the community. I don't think Stu Sternberg did any of that. Right. And I think that's clear in the stadium. I think it's clear also with the lack of engagement with the community as well. But it's also hard to do that when the stadium is removed a little bit from the community. So there's a lot of aspects to it that I think are fascinating. And I just think it takes a new owner who's going to have urgency, who's going to, or when you have a team that you didn't have to pay $1 billion+ for in the last few years, and you're not pressed to turn this thing around and actually make it into something much more significant. Again, Sternberg can just rest on his laurels, take that revenue sharing money, and know that every couple of years they're going to make the playoffs and we'll make a little bit of extra money. But it's going to take somebody that really wants to push this franchise to the next level. And if the Florida Panthers can get to where I was going to games on opening day with 5,000 people there, and I really thought that team was going to get relocated to where they're at now, you've already got the front office infrastructure. That's the thing. It's not like the organization stinks. You just need to figure out the other side of it. And I think the other side of it is way easier. I really do. I think that just requires financial investment a lot more than you can't just buy a World Series. That's a lot harder. I know the Rays haven't won one yet, but you can't even just buy
They're getting close.
a perennial contender. But
Right.
as fans start to come in with the infrastructure that they have, they can actually invest in the product on the field as well a little bit more instead of, just continuing to work within the margins.
And at the end of the day, this is a crazy return for Stu Sternberg. He purchased the Rays for $200 million back in 2004. And this possible ownership group, led by Patrick Zalupski, is his name. It's a group: Patrick Zalupski, Bill Cosgrove, Ken Babby, who actually owns the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, and then other prominent Tampa Bay investors. This is all reported by Sportico. They are in advanced discussions with Stu Sternberg to acquire the Tampa Bay Rays for $1.7 billion. 200 million in 2004, 1.7 billion in 2025. So that tells me if they're buying for 1.7, they're going to be pretty invested in making sure Tampa St. Pete is going to be a hub for baseball moving forward. I hope this is not an Orlando thing. I've read too much about this weird Orlando thing.
Horrible idea. As a Floridian, horrible idea.
Dude, like that's
nothing against
not
Orlando,
a place.
just bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, they can pull in the NBA, but like Orlando in the summer, I think we're okay. I do feel really confident that Tampa St. Pete is going to work if this ownership group does take hold of the Rays.
It's a great city. And the more, I know you just went out there, right, on the road.
Yeah.
It's a cool place.
I really liked it.
I really like it out there. And I do think there's a lot of potential there. And it's better for baseball if the Rays can, be somewhat of a lightning adjacent franchise where
Of course.
you're looking at a situation where there's just more of those smaller market teams, quote unquote, are drawing more than you expect. So I'm happy that it's not a relocation thing. It seems like in the short term, and hopefully this new ownership group that's going to be way more invested, both figuratively and financially, can potentially push this team where it needs to be pushed.
We're going to bounce around the All-Star first ballot in a moment. Like the first round of All-Star voting just became complete. But before that, I want to tell you about our friends at Ethos Life Insurance. Obviously, life insurance is not something you think about often at all, right? But when you lose someone close to you, you can't help but think about the future. Would your family be prepared financially if anything were to happen to you? With life insurance from Ethos, your family is protected. Life insurance is more affordable than you think. With Ethos, you can get a free quote and customize a rate that fits your budget. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $2 a day, billed monthly. They're a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 2,400 reviews. So now is the time. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/justbaseball. That's ethos, ethos.com/justbaseball. All-Star. We're going to jump in with the American League Infield here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much set you up. I'm going to let you know who the top couple of vote getters are at each position, and then you're going to give me any questions, comments, concerns you may have about those vote getters, and I'll voice any frustrations that I have as well. Cool?
Okay.
So we're starting with the American League right now. Cal Raleigh, the top vote getter at catcher. It's not close. Cal Raleigh has over 1 million votes. He's at 1,043,168. The next best is Alejandro Kirk at 370,000 votes. So he's nearly tripling up Alejandro Kirk. But it's Raleigh 1, Kirk 2, Dylan Dingler of the Tigers 3, and then Logan O'Hoppe is just at 200,000 at 4 with Austin Wells finishing out the top 5. I appreciate where we're at. I would say Carlos Narvaez being at 9 on the first ballot is a little wild, but I understand the Red Sox not flooding the ballot box right now. Raleigh and Kirk, I'd be pretty happy with being the catching tandem for the American League.
Yeah, I mean, between Kirk just I think has been a guy that I mean, which is nuts because if you look at what Narvaez has done, I think you could argue he's actually been better, which is nuts. But I mean, Kirk, the performance this year has just been so impressive, and the fact that he's only punching 10% of the time while hitting 310, I think is pretty remarkable. So I mean, the Cal Raleigh side of things, it's just ridiculous
Yeah.
how far ahead he is. Do you know what the next most homers is for a catcher? Yeah, Riley has 27.
Raleigh has 27. I bet the next most is. I know Taylor Ward is top 10 in baseball with 18. I bet the next most is 15.
14, Logan O'Hoppe and Hunter Goodman.
Wow.
So he has almost doubled up the next highest home run total at the position. And I know that there's more to the position than home runs, but I don't need to sell you on Cal
Well,
Raleigh
and he does
defense.
more at that position,
Yeah,
right? He's a platinum
exactly.
glover.
I don't have to sell you on that. And on top of that, he's playing he's playing in Seattle,
Yeah.
where it's not like the ball flies there. It's not like it's a very easy place to hit relative to some other areas. So, I mean, this is the biggest, I think, gap at a position. Besides, well, I mean, we'll talk Aaron Judge, but I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger runaway than Cal Raleigh, a catcher.
I don't think so. And I like Kirk at second. First base in the American League. Paul Goldschmidt is the leading vote getter. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just behind him. In third right now is Jonathan Aranda in Tampa Bay, and then Spencer Torkelson is at 4. Christian Walker is in the 5 spot right now for Houston. These are just big markets kind of taking hold, and shout out Tigers fans for really getting out there and pushing
Yeah.
their guys. Dylan Dingler at 3,
Yeah.
Torque at 4 is crazy. No Aranda in the All-Star game would be criminal.
Yeah, guys have this is a 164 WRC plus. I mean, it
And he
is
leads AL first baseman in WAR too.
this is peak, not wrong, just early. But 323, 414, 493 slash, and the guy just hits. And everybody loved him because you knew that the short porch and right with basically having a scan of Yankee Stadium being your home ballpark in Tampa would help. But that's not really what's helping him this year. He has 8 homers. He's producing on hard hit balls to all fields. To the fact that he's actually just piling up singles and doubles. He's hitting 323. So that part of it has been so impressive. I will say though, I think we're about to see a little bit of a Vladdy heater, and you know the Toronto fans, the whole country will start to show out. But I do think it should be Jonathan Aranda there.
Yeah. Anybody else like down the ballot that you think needs more votes? I don't think so. I think it's pretty chalky.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I honestly respect Torque getting that love because he's got 16 bombs
Yeah.
in a stadium where it's again very difficult to go deep. But the rest, nah, I think it's about right.
Cool. Second base, as it stands right now, here's what we're looking at. Gleyber Torres is your leading vote getter at 535,000. Jackson Holiday is number 2 at 449. Jose Altuve right behind him, followed by Jazz Chisholm a good way down. And then Brandon Lau of Tampa Bay is number 5. Andres Jimenez and Willie Castro are 6 and 7. This is a very bad position
Oh my
in the
gosh.
American League. I guess Gleyber Torres is the right pick. He's
Yeah.
second among second basemen in WAR, only behind Brendan Donovan. I, I don't know, man. Like the top 3 in the American League in WAR, as it stands right now, among second basemen: Gleyber Torres, Brandon Lau, and Daniel Schneemann in Cleveland.
Yeah, this position is terrible. We should almost. I want to petition to just do the double shortstop thing.
I'm
just,
in.
just
I'm in. Listen, because like we're not doing the center field thing. Like Andy Pages would be an all-star if we were doing center field.
yeah,
But like we should just put a shortstop at
just
second
two
base.
two middle infielders and call it a day. It's. I understand that in a lot of years, some really good second basemen would get squeezed out in that event. But man, I think if the next if the number 2 shortstop doubles up on second base votes, like you should just put him over at second base. It's a brutal position. I think Glaber's got to be the guy. He's walking more than he's striking out. I think a lot of people had some doubts about, myself included, about how he would perform in Comerica, and he's getting on base at a 375 clip. So I think it could very easily and probably should be Gleyber Torres.
For sure. Third base in the American League as it stands right now. Jose Ramirez nearly has 1 million votes right now. He's at 970,000. Alex Bregman is second at just under 400,000. So he's doubling up the next guy. Addison Barger is third for the Toronto Blue Jays. Zach McKinstry is fourth. Isaac Paredes is fifth with Junior Caminero in sixth right now. I was thinking maybe a little bit more Paredes love, but I do kind of like how this is shaking out at the moment. I think no J Ram and Bregman would be a little weird.
I think Barger's got to be the number one guy.
Yeah, has
Uh,
to.
yeah.
Has to.
That walk-off home run was cold though.
That was nasty.
Yeah. So I mean, J Ram is the guy, and he should always be the guy. I love seeing him get the love he deserves. But Paredes, man, it's a 140 WRC plus. It's 15 homers. It's 2.5 WAR. Like with the Bregman injury, I think you could make a case for Paredes to get the nod over him. As crazy as that sounds, just because like, hey, he's out there doing it, and there's a chance that depending on Bregman's return time, I mean,
Yeah.
you might have an extra 20 games from Isaac Paredes. So I think that is an interesting part of it. But if Bregman comes back and keeps doing what he was doing, I think you can make the case for him to get that other spot, that backup spot. But for now, I think if you have like a 20 game difference in total games played, you might have to lean towards Isaac Paredes.
I would hope so. When is it too early to truly victory lap on Isai Paredes? It's now, right?
Well, well, people are going to say, well, yeah, he got put back in a spot where he can swing it,
Yeah,
and
but
where
guess
where
what?
the,
He
where the
doesn't
pull
control the
fly
team
ball
that
is
he's
going to work.
employed by.
Yeah, yeah. But people are going to say, well, we were right. He didn't play well in Chicago.
That was a hell of a 40 games, man, or 50 games, whatever it was. So,
Yeah.
Junior Caminero, I thought was going to catapult his way into this conversation, but that kind of died off pretty quickly. Hell of a 2 weeks, though. This is going to be the Caminero experience, where 2 weeks he's the best hitter in baseball. 2 weeks he's making you go gray and pull your hair out, and then 2 weeks after that he's going to be the best hitter in baseball again.
Yeah, he's going to be like that for a while, I think, and it's just because it's there's so many moving parts of the swing. He's so powerful though, and I think that's why you're going to see him have those hot streaks. But yeah, you're also I think going to see some of those valleys as well. But in his last 23 games, he's got an OPS over 1,000 and 9 homers. So he could mash his way, but it's more of the Gino. I think he's more of the Gino Suarez experience at this point than he is, the more well-rounded slugger. And I think he'll get there. Remember, he's 21,
Yeah.
but at this point, he is kind of that Gino Suarez experience. 298 on base percentage, but he's got the 17 bombs. It's just he's just not quite there yet. I would make a case for like Michael Garcia, honestly, right now with the defense and everything that he's doing, and the stolen bases. But that said, I think you're seeing Caminero getting closer and closer to where a couple years from now will probably be that guy that's challenging maybe a Jose Ramirez or something like that for the third base spot.
Yeah. Last position on the infield in the American League at shortstop. Jacob Wilson is the leading vote getter. He's about 50,000 votes clear of Bobby Witt Jr. As it stands right now, Jeremy Pena is third, Bo Bichette fourth, Anthony Volpe fifth, Zach Neto in the sixth spot. And I keep looking down. I see Gunnar Henderson for Baltimore at seventh. That's crazy,
Not
man.
right
And
though.
this year, dude, they got it right. This year is the true separator between Gunnar and Bobby Witt.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, because Bobby, it's not just the offensive side of things. You could say, oh, well, Gunner's just a little bit cold. He started the year hurt. If they're even comparable offensively, and they pretty much are, they're both at like a 120 WRC plus. The defense is just so much better from Bobby Witt, and the speed that and how much it impacts the game is just so much more significant. That I mean, both have been to their standards disappointing this year, right? And
Yeah.
but you see the difference of what speed and defense can do from a WAR perspective. They're both a little bit below what you want to see from them in the WRC plus department at 120.
Yeah.
And that is a 3.6 WAR in 73 games for Bobby Witt versus a 1.7 WAR for Gunnar Henderson in 65 games. So I agree. I think this shows you the margin for error for a Bobby Witt Jr. offensively is just so much wider.
Yeah.
But so this is where it gets interesting for me. I think I don't want I never want all-star voting to just turn into a war competition because that's silly.
Right.
But Jeremy Pena and Jacob Wilson is really fascinating because Pena, I think you're getting a little bit more defensive value. You're definitely getting some more value with the legs. And he's playing out of his mind this year. It's been so cool to see. But Jacob Wilson's hitting 360. He's getting on base at a 400 clip. And assuming he doesn't slow down, I think you just got to give the guy the nod because it's going to be Bobby at the top, probably, I'd assume, right? But what'd you say the voting breakdown was again?
It was Jacob Wilson at the top, and then it was
Okay.
Bobby 2, Pena
So
3.
is it even Bobby versus is it Bobby versus Wilson in your mind, or is it Wilson versus Pena for the second spot?
I think it's Bobby versus Wilson because what Jacob Wilson has done, I thought it was impossible 2 years ago. He made this brand of baseball sexy again,
Yeah.
and everybody loves it right now. I saw your Beat the Street tweets. Like, everybody's obsessed with watching Jacob Wilson go about his business because he plays the game like everybody plays Road to the Show. And
Yeah.
it's really fun to watch. It's speed, there's defense there, it's short, but man, if you hit everything,
Yeah.
people are going to latch onto that. This team's in freaking Sacramento, and Jacob Wilson is beating Bobby Witt Jr. in an All Star vote.
Yeah. Oh, and I think you touched on the most important point here is like somebody that's doing something that nobody else at the position is doing, and really nobody else in baseball for the most part is doing, hitting over 350. And I think doing that while not being a a player that doesn't add value beyond that, right? Like it's not just being hit tool.
Right.
The fact that he's playing a good shortstop every single day and sneaking out 8 homers. He's also not a slap hitter. He's slugging 500.
Right.
So I do think Jacob Wilson should be the leading vote getter here. And we'll see. Of course, slight edge for Bobby Witt because of WAR, but that's where I'm kind of putting that in the rear view because you've got a 60-point difference in OBP. Yep. You've got an 80-point difference in batting average. And Jacob Wilson's out slugging Bobby Witt Jr. because he's hitting the ball so consistently.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be Jacob Wilson. I love that the fans are all over this shit, man. It's great.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like it's a little antiquated to look at, but at the end of the day, Jacob Wilson's hitting over 350. To your point,
I don't think that's antiquated when you're doing that.
I think fans will latch onto that, and that's why they latched onto it last year with Stephen Kwan. Like Kwan, another guy that provided value beyond never swinging and missing, and oh by the way, he never swung and missed, and all of a sudden he was an all-star. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I agree.
it's interesting. All right, let's go to the outfield and the DH spot in the American League right now. The outfield in the American League, obviously, Aaron Judge is leading the way by a country mile. He is the leading vote getter with 1.57 million votes. Next is Riley Green of the Tigers at 675,000. So he's nearly tripling up the next highest vote getter in the American League outfield. But it's Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Mike Trout that are the top three vote getters right now. Trout's obviously just going to be there because he's Trout. Stephen Kwan is 4. Javier Baez is 5. Cody Bellinger is 6. After that, you've got Kerry Carpenter, George Springer, J-Rod, Jaron Duran, Trent Grisham, Dalton Varsho, Byron Buxton. A little Buxton erasure by having him in the 13th spot. That needs to correct itself.
Yes,
Javier Baez,
exactly
unfortunately, needs to be outside, but yeah, Buxton needs to be an all-star.
That's exactly where I was going to go. This guy's playing every day. And I had doubts that he'd be able to continue to do it. Knock on wood, times a million. I want to make sure that I don't jinx him. He's been an all-star once not because of ability, because of just the injuries, right? He's never really had an opportunity to endear himself to the all-star voters. He was an all-star in 2022, played 92 games that year, and we had 28 home runs. But this has been the most complete version, I think, of Byron Buxton that we've seen since maybe 2021, but then again, he only played 61 games. Absurd, by the way. In 2021, he had 5 B-WAR in 61 games.
Yeah.
Holy shit. But this is him playing every day, defending. He's not funneling through the DH. He's playing center field. I'm just so happy for him. It's got to feel great just that he can go out on the field and play every day and not feel like he's micromanaging every single thing he does. But he's got to be out there. He's on pace for nearly 30-30. He's defending well, and he's hitting for some average too. He's not hitting 224 like he did when he was actually an all-star in 2022. He's hitting 273, and I think that's the most encouraging part. So I want to see Buxton with another all-star, on his resume there, and I hope fans get that one right. Who did you say was second and third again?
Second and third is Riley Green, and then third is Mike Trout. Trout
I get Riley Green's playing well, but he's also striking out 31% of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything away from him from a production and value standpoint like that. It's fine. If you got a 136 WRC plus, it's going to play. But when I'm splitting hairs for all-star, I don't know. Like I gravitate. Maybe All Star voting makes me an old head. I guess I gravitate more towards the Stephen Kwans of the world, where he's going to defend a little bit better. He's hitting 300. He's getting on base at 30-point higher clip. I gravitate towards that a little bit more for the third spot. But people might look at WAR and say, "What about Julio Rodriguez?" No, I refuse. I refuse. That guy needs to play better. I refuse for him. But maybe that's not fair. I just think if you're an outfielder, no matter how good the glove is,
Yeah.
if you're going to be an all-star starter, it's got to be better than a 114 WRC plus.
So I agree with you, but I was also going to throw you Lawrence Butler's name. Like, I'm a little surprised Lawrence Butler is not in position right now, and guess where he's at? A 114 WRC plus. Outside of Judge, the American League outfield is not that good. So it becomes a battle of the fan bases, and that's why you have Javier Baez in position to make an all-star team right now.
Just Buxton. Just please get Buxton in there.
Please
He
get
needs to be.
Buxton. Like, would you want to see? It's tough because like Soderstrom's getting votes because of the start that he had, but he hasn't been good.
No, Riley Green deserves it over Soderstrom without a doubt.
Yeah, like
Like Riley Green could be a reserve. He's got 15 homers. That's what going to put him third among outfielders.
yeah.
But man, I just think it's got to be Buxton behind Judge, and then leave it wide open. I'm open to whatever. Maybe it could be Riley Green, but I think Quan is an interesting conversation too.
I'm trying to shove other people in here. Like, could Will your Abreu be a conversation? No, because he's hitting 245 with an OPS under 800.
Someone's going to get hot in the next month, and
Someone's going to get hot and become an all-star
it might be Mike Trout. Like,
Sure.
If Trout's got 20 pumps, he's at 11. He's played 46 games. He's already swinging it well since he's come back.
And
Like,
he's in line to be a starter. So
Yeah.
you know what? He's going to take his spot. So
he's gotta
Riley
lose.
Green could absolutely get leapfrogged by Byron Buxton over the course of the next couple of weeks if people, are paying attention. Last position we got to go over in the American League is DH as it stands right now. Ryan O'Hearn is the leader now that Rafi Devers is gone. Ben Rice is second, and guess who's third? You won't guess.
For DH,
For DH in the American League, Jordan is fourth.
which is hilarious. Doesn't
Yeah.
play.
Hasn't played. Santander is fifth. He's been terrible. Mike
DH.
Tauchman of the Chicago White Sox is third.
Shut up.
He's third in AL All-Star voting for DH.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's just a bit that 177,000 people are in on.
They did it with Maldonado, didn't they, a few years back?
I think so, yeah. So now it's Tauchman.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean that's awesome. It's got to be. I feel like it's got to be Rooker, no?
Rooker is seventh right now. It has to be O'Hearn.
Yeah. Well, is O'Hearn, so O'Hearn's breakdown right now? I'm trying to look at starts. Yeah, 25 starts at DH. That's enough.
He's eligible at DH, so O'Hearn is going to be the DH, and then it becomes Rice versus Rooker.
Rice versus Rooker.
Rice has been very bad over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's O'Hearn and Rooker that should be the priorities there without a doubt. O'Hearn 152 WRC plus, and he's playing a little bit of defense, which is weird because like I almost want to bake that into it. It's like if you're the DH, but you're also playing some position, I think that should help you if anything. I know Rooker did a little bit more this year than he did last year, but I think O'Hearn's been the much more complete hitter. And if you're looking at it from this perspective, like I know that Rooker's typically going to have the edge power wise, 5 more homers.
Yeah.
But O'Hearn's slugging 3 points higher when you've got a batting average 30 points higher and an OBP 34 points higher. I think it should absolutely be O'Hearn. And I love the guys that are having those career years. Those are the guys that should be the all-stars because you don't know if they're going to do it again.
Right.
The career year guys should be rewarded, and O'Hearn is having a career year and then some.
O'Hearn with our friends at Foul Territory said thank you to Craig Breslow for trading Rafi so he could be the all-star starter at DH. So I appreciate the awareness, the self-awareness from Ryan O'Hearn there. Let's jump to the National League in a moment here. Before that, we'll take a quick break. Let's talk National League. This is a much more fun conversation in the National League. The NL is running circles around the AL right now. I view the National League in 2025 compared to the American League as like the Western Conference in the NBA when we were growing up. The Western Conference All-Stars were so much better than the Eastern Conference All-Stars. The thing is, the East always had LeBron, and Judge is LeBron in this exercise. So
Yeah.
like the best player is in the East, but the West is the way better league. The National League is leaps and bounds beyond the American League, but they've got the best player.
Which is not how you and I grew up, though, with it. I mean, growing up, American League was just dominated,
Oh yeah.
absolutely dominated every single year. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of wild. I'm not used to it, where you're seeing the National League side much stronger. What position are you starting with? The outfield
Catcher.
catcher? Because I would say I'm looking at outfield right now, and I
The
can't wait to
outfield
get to
breaks
that.
my brain.
It is. I don't know what to do. Another petition, maybe just send some guys over to the American League because they're so much better in the outfield. But
I'm
we'll
in.
get there.
Do you remember
Catcher's easy here too on the National League side.
right? Do you remember like youth basketball or
I was,
soccer when you were so much better than the other team that they would give you like two ringers?
I was gonna make that joke. Honestly, it happened a couple of times in like Little League baseball where like the other team maybe was a player or two short, and you didn't want to just totally forfeit the game, so we just send a couple players on their side as well, or like did a couple guys that were just so brutal that we sent a couple players that way. Like it's almost that scenario.
You want Javi Baez or James Wood? But we'll talk about catchers right now. The leading vote getter is over 1 million votes right now. This is very Dodger heavy, understandably so. But Will Smith has been arguably the best catcher. Actually, no, not arguably the best catcher in baseball because that's Raleigh. He has been inarguably the best catcher in the National League. That's the way that I want to phrase this.
Yes, there you go.
Will Smith at 1.1 million votes. Carson Kelly is next at 400,000 votes. Will Smith is more than doubling up Carson Kelly. Francisco Alvarez is third. Shout out the Mets. Real
Yeah.
Muto is fourth. Hunter Goodman is fifth. William Contreras is sixth. I appreciate Will Smith. I love the start to the year that Carson Kelly has had. This is my petition to get Hunter Goodman to the All-Star game.
Huh.
He's
I like that.
balling right now, man. He beat, he swept the Marlins pretty much by himself.
Mm-hmm.
He beat the Nats pretty much by himself. Swept the Nats, like or not swept. Taken two of the front three against Washington pretty much by himself right now. I mean, dude, he's winning Colorado games, and if you're winning the Rockies games, I think you should go to the All Star game.
Yeah. I mean, well, what's fascinating too is the defense has gotten so much better. You remember that the question had always been like, is it when he was a prospect? What's it going to be like behind the dish? They even were playing him in the outfield
Yeah,
the last couple of years. They were not catching him at all. Um, some circumstances, of course, like you expected Drew Romo to potentially be that guy for you behind the dish. He wasn't. Jacob Stallings was magically good last year. So there were some other aspects of it, but a big part of it was I don't think they thought Goodman would get to a point where he's, a solid defender. And I don't think he's ever going to be an asset back there, but he's not a liability by any means. And if you're hitting 30 home runs, which he's on pace for, you'll take that every day of the week. And that's a huge building block for the Rockies there. And it's been a little while since they've had a reliable backstop. But what's interesting is I think Ivan Herrera, and I'm calling on Cardinals fans, man. They didn't show up attendance wise early in the year because
yeah,
it was a year that I think most people expected to be kind of a punt year. And
yeah.
I get that. And I get that it's also cold there. But it just for the best fans in baseball, you'd expect them to show up a little bit more. They're 13th in attendance this year.
Yeah.
And this team's playing well. I get the optics weren't the best going into the season. The St. Louis Cardinals, the best fans in baseball, can't be 13th in attendance. And your breakout catcher with a 159 WRC plus, Ivan Herrera, can't be outside of what? He's not even in the top 7 that you mentioned?
He's not in the top 10. Here's the weird caveat. He's seventh in DH voting. I don't
Okay.
understand why he's eligible at the DH spot. He should just be a catcher. And I think that Herrera could absolutely be the second catcher on this NL
Because
team.
he's actually DH'd more than he's caught. So I guess that's crazy. I would have thought he's caught a little bit more this year. But all right. At least I'm glad that they've got him in voting for him in the DH spot.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's getting votes because the guy's got a 159 WRC plus. Cardinals fans, I need you guys to vote that guy up into the top 5. Like it's crazy. He's been so freaking good. But Will Smith is the runaway. I guess the question becomes, who's the second place guy? If Herrera's a DH, it becomes very fascinating because Carson Kelly, I bet if you do the old since he was amazing, he's been this bad.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be great numbers since he was amazing in the first month of the season.
I think it should be
your number
Goodman
2
over
guy?
Carson Kelly.
Who?
Hunter Goodman.
I agree. I think it's Hunter Goodman. And they need a representative, he would be their guy.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be kind of shitty when like Jake Bird is the representative. I would prefer to see Goodman as the
Yeah,
representative.
I think Goodman's the second best guy. I do. I agree with that.
Cool. First base in the National League as it stands right now. Freddie Freeman, the top vote getter, at 1.1 million. Pete Alonso is second at 895,000. It's a total runaway. Michael Busch is third at 286,000, but still second place in Alonso is nearly tripling up Michael Busch. Bryce Harper 4, Luis Ariz 5, Olson 6, Naylor 7, Wilson Contreras is also there at 8. But they have it right. Those two, Freddie, Alonso, no comments,
No
concerns
qualms.
from me.
No, I mean that's clear as day.
It's clear as day. Shout out Bush. Michael Bush has been awesome
Yeah.
throughout the entirety of his Cubs career, but he's not Freddie Freeman or Pete Alonso.
No, and just to shine a light, for Freeman had another swing last night. Just
Yeah.
the classic inside out. There's no point even shifting that guy. You should just play him straight up. He's going to hit it wherever he wants. Inside out, shoots it the other way. The ability to manipulate the barrel is just insane. 333, 404, 547 slash line with an ankle that's still messing him up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Pete Alonso, of course, has been the guy. And the fact that he's got 17 bombs already is absolutely awesome. And that strikeout rate's all the way down to 21%. It's only 1% higher than Freddie Freeman, who's regarded as, one of the more pure hitters we got. So those two have been awesome. And you almost wish that they could both share first base, the starting role, because they've been so fantastic.
Yeah. Let's jump to second base here. Ketel Marte, the leading vote getter at 850,000. Tommy Edman is second at 510,000. Nico Horner and Brendan Donovan neck and neck. Jeff McNeil is also a top 5 vote getter right now, with Stott coming in at 6th in second base. But Marte and Edman, the two guys in position to be all-stars. Horner and Donovan on the outside looking in. Horner and Donovan should both be getting more votes than Tommy Edman, and I love Tommy Edman.
This might be an even more fair time to call on Cardinals fans. Like,
yeah,
Brendan Donovan is absolutely racking up the WAR, but he's also hitting 323, 388, 451. I mean, like, this guy's doing everything, and he's moving all over the diamond, which I do put value to. He's got to be assigned to a specific position. We don't have a utility spot, but the fact that he's a second baseman, a position that, I think we just talked about how light it is on the American League side, and he's playing all over the diamond and giving you value all over the diamond is absolutely huge. And yeah, I think you could make a push for Ketel Marte as well, because it's got a 160 WRC plus, but he's played 20 less games. So I think availability does matter to a degree. I look at what Horner's doing. I just think Brandon Donovan's doing all of that, but better. I mean, maybe he's not as elite of a defender, but it's still plenty of value there. My vote would go Donovan and then Ketel Marte. And again, Cardinals fan, best fans in sports, right? Best fans in baseball. Act like it.
Show up, man. Just show up. Third base right now. Cardinal fans not showing up for Arenado. Arenado has been better than he was last year, but Arenado is 9th right now. Manny Machado, the leading vote getter, at 955,000. Max Muncy is second at 415,000. Gino Suarez is third. You flip-flop Suarez and Muncy, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a better version of what you're getting from Muncy.
Way better.
I understand Muncy's more 3 true outcome-ish, but he's got more than double the homers. This one, I respect Cardinals fans for being objective. I love Arenado. It's better this year, but I mean, he's just not in the same realm as these other guys. Machado is just, I'm really buying into, he's been hurt the last couple of years, and now he's finally healthy.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's hitting 316 as well, he's going to slug.
Yeah.
He's defending better as well. I think Chapman would have a strong case if he didn't get hurt. And we'll see how he comes back from the injury. And I mean, you could definitely make a push. I think these two will separate themselves with the way they play over the next month. But I think what Machado's doing right now on that team, and kind of the revolving door, some of the injuries you had, Merrill hurt back, unfortunately hurt again. Tatis outrageously good, and then he's kind of hit a wall. Now he's coming alive again, but he had hit a wall for a little bit. Machado's been that key cog for them and been a mainstay for them. I will say you can make a similar argument though for Matt Chapman, who right next to him, their big money shortstop has not done shit. And Chapman's been that main force in that offense too. So you can make a case for both those guys, and I think they should comfortably be 1 and 2.
Chapman, because of the injury, is all the way down at 8th, but I mean,
That's
it's
crazy
funny like
still.
how voting just falls off a cliff, or just how flat out talent it falls off a cliff right now. Machado, Muncy, Suarez is one, two, three. Matt Shaw is fourth. Alec Boehm is fifth. Like it's just crazy
Oh,
to me.
ugh. Yeah.
So, oh well. A couple more positions here. Shortstop. Francisco Lindor, the only guy over 1 million votes right now at shortstop. Mookie Betts is just under 600,000. Then you go to Trey Turner at 350,000. He's third. Ellie De La Cruz fourth. Dansby Swanson fifth. Geraldo Perdomo fewer than 100,000 votes. For reference, that's fewer votes than Arenado has. It's fewer votes than Jake Cronenworth has. Geraldo Perdomo, but this is stacked right now. I'm not pro in the National League moving a shortstop over to second base, but Lindor, Mookie, Turner, and Ellie are all deserving of all-star nods right now.
Turner might be one of the more underrated. He might be having one of the more underrated seasons right now because everyone loves to shit on the defense, and I'm sure I've been guilty of it. He's not. I don't think he's Ozzie Smith out there, but he's definitely made himself not a liability this year. I mean, if you look at what he's doing defensively, it's -4 defensive runs saved, but it's 3 outs above average. I don't think he's had a positive outs above average since 2019.
Wow.
So the fact that he's gotten himself to a point where he was -4 defensive run save or -14 defensive run save last year, -3 outs above average. So defending a little bit better, but absolutely breaking 308, 366, 466 slash line. And I understand Lindor is one of the best defenders in the sport at his respective position, and Lindor is slugging a little bit more, but there's a pretty decent gap in the slash line. What's funny is then you end up, because of the stadium side of things, you look at WRC plus and it's only 3 points in the favor of Turner. So I lean Lindor, but I think if Turner just keeps mashing, it's hard to ignore the slash line of 308, 366, 466 compared to 275, 349, 468. But it's a fun conversation.
It is a fun conversation. I maybe a little bit of bias because I do love watching Trey Turner right now. Like I'm 2 games into a 4 game set with watching Turner play shortstop, and I'm obsessed with it. In terms of offensively, what he does, defensively, it's somehow smooth but bad at the same time, and that's been the case for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't grade out well, literally ever, but he looks smooth. Trey Turner is one of the smoothest looking
Oh,
players in Major League Baseball.
no doubt.
And I
No
see
doubt.
him like he ripped an 109-mile-an-hour homer to dead center on the second pitch of the game on Monday, and then went seat hunting down the left field line yesterday. Like when he gets into it, dude, it's really fun to watch Turner. But Ellie De La Cruz is turning it on
I,
now too. This is
I was gonna
jammed.
say Ellie might, with a strong month, just put himself into this conversation. Last 30 games, OPS over 1,000, and all I hear about is Ellie De La Cruz strikeouts. Ellie De La Cruz strikeouts. 21% strikeout rate in that span.
Yeah.
He's striking out barely north of 25% of the time this year. If he continues to go nuclear for another few weeks, he's gonna eclipse them in WAR, and then you're gonna look at the counting stats and say, oh, he's got 30 bags, he's got 20 homers, and all of a sudden, I think we're talking about Ellie De La Cruz is the guy that could be that starter. I don't think that's crazy.
All right, going to the outfield. This is the most stacked situation you could possibly find. The National League outfield has to be as good as it's been in 10 years, 15 years. I don't know. The top vote getter right now, the only guy over 1 million votes, is who else but Pete Crow Armstrong of the Chicago Cubs. He's at 1.1 million votes right now. Kyle Tucker is second. Teoscar Hernandez is third. Juan Soto fourth. Corbin Carroll fifth. Ronald Acuna Jr. is sixth. You assume 6 guys make the All-Star team right now. So it would be PCA, Tucker, Teo, Soto, Carroll, Acuna. On the outside looking in, Andy Pajes, who has been amazing this year, Fernando Tatis Jr., James Wood, and Brandon Nimmo. They're 9 deep right now in the National League.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't.
And
I don't
here's the
understand.
thing. I would say because Acuna missed a whole bunch of time, leave Acuna out. You can't leave Acuna out
Can't.
right now.
He's the best player on the planet right now.
Yeah,
So
dude.
like if he extrapolates this over what it'll probably be about 40 games, the numbers might just be too gaudy. Like he's 11th in National League outfield WAR
Yeah.
already. He's hitting 392 with 7 homers in 22 games. And he's defending. Like he
Yeah.
made a nice play the other day. I don't know. I don't know, because we just talked about like, oh yeah, you got to give the value to the guys that are playing more, but we weren't comparing any of those guys to somebody that's hitting almost 400 with a home run every third game. If he keeps this up, he's going to catapult himself into the conversation. But like there can't be a scenario where Corbin Carroll doesn't get in because just the fan base is smaller and they don't vote him in. He has 20 homers.
Yeah.
He has 10 stolen bases to go with it. And he's also, I'd imagine, I don't have it in front of me. Let me dial it up right now. Yeah, I assume so. He leads the league in triples.
Yeah.
8. I just don't know how we could leave him out. And I think there's a real scenario where like he somehow gets squeezed out of the starting situation because of a PCA and a Kyle Tucker. But I also look at James Wood and it's like, we got to make sure that guy gets in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Is Andy Pages just going to be a casualty
Yeah,
somehow?
he will. And
That's
Wood
crazy.
might be a casualty. There's going to be 2 guys that are really freaking good, maybe 3 guys that are really freaking good that are going to be casualties here. To be honest, Soto should be one of those guys left on the chopping block. If he's not in the top 3, I can see a world where Soto doesn't make it, but also Soto's trending closer and closer to that 900 OPS. That would just be an auto all-star bid for him.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's the crazy part is like if the numbers are off the charts like that, I don't know how you omit him.
it's so hard. So give me 6 of these guys right now. So I gave you 9. Do you have it in front of you?
PCA,
PCA, Tucker, Teoscar
Corbin,
Hernandez, Soto, Carroll, Acuna, Pages, Tatis, Wood. Those are your 9. Give me 6.
give you 6 of them.
Yeah.
I can go on PCA, Corbin, Tatis, Tucker, Wood. This is where it gets tough. This is where it gets tough.
So now
I think
you're picking one more out of Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Andy Pages.
it's like I want to go Pages. I do. And again, Ronald, if he keeps doing this, I'll change it. But I'm gonna go with the guy that's playing center field at a high level and is just doing it on the and also he's doing it in big games.
Yeah.
He's just had this edge to him. He just deserves to be in that All-Star game. It's crazy squeezing out of Juan Soto, but when we're comparing those 2 guys, Pages has almost been as good from a slash line perspective, has one more home run, and is playing center field. Whereas Soto, like he's just brutal to watch play defense.
He's horrible to watch. And he was brutal to watch run the bases on Tuesday in Atlanta.
Yeah, he doesn't give you value there either.
It's tough. So where do you go? You go Pages with the 6?
Yep, I go Pages.
Okay, I'm going Acuna with the 6 right now, and Pages is just Mike Conley. Like really, really good, but never making an all-star team. So nature of the beast right now. Okay, one more position that we got to go over here is the DH. Drum roll, please. Shohei is the leader. Shohei Ohtani, the leading vote getter in the National League. He's 2,000 shy of 1.4 million votes. Rafi Devers is a clear-cut second now. All of his votes in the American League transferred over to the National League. And then you got Seiya Suzuki third, Kyle Schwarber fourth, Starling Marte is fifth. I would love to see Schwarber get to the All-Star game. I understand why not, though, now that you have Devers in the National League. If Ohtani and Devers aren't All-Stars, I will be shocked. I think both those guys are slam dunks. Well, Ohtani clearly is there, but Devers, like, I hope is a slam dunk.
Yeah. I mean, it's Ohtani, no brainer. It is crazy though if you go by DHs with minimum 40 games played, that Ivan Herrera is second in WRC plus. That is cool, but as a DH, you can't ignore the home run output. And 8 homers versus 22. I understand that Herrera missed some time, but yeah, Kyle Schwarber with 22 pumps is just gonna make a statement as a DH candidate. But it's Ohtani, and he can just kind of run away with that.
Yeah. Real quick, one last thing. If Randy Rodriguez is not an all-star in the National League, we riot. That's my one pitcher note. Randy Rodriguez has to be an all-star.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to be a guarantee, right?
They reward saves. They reward saves all the time.
Yeah, that is true. But I hope we get away from that. Like the save, like that's circumstance.
Yeah.
The guy can only pitch the inning that you give him the opportunity to pitch.
Right.
And if he's the best in that inning every single time, he should get the vote.
Yeah. So Randy Rodriguez third among relievers in F4 right now. only behind Robert Suarez and Cade Smith. Randy Rodriguez has 1 save, Cade Smith has 3, and Suarez leads Major League Baseball with 21. So
Wow.
that's what you got right now. But that's our program. That's the All-Star balloting update. You got anything else? Oh, yeah, Connor Griffin. Tell me
Just
about your Connor
quickly.
Griffin piece you wrote.
Yeah, so it's linked in the episode description, but I've just been so floored by how good this kid is. And he's, yes, kid, just turned 19 years old. Uh, Pirates first round pick, took him 9th overall. And he was 16th in our top 100 update. At that point, he was still playing in low A. And, there was some underlying whiff in the early going. And remember, the only reason why he probably wasn't a top 3 pick was there was some hit tool concern. And if you go and watch the amateur video, like the swing was rough, and I highlight that in the piece. But he, before he even made his pro debut, had success or made swing adjustments legitimately before he faced any adversity, which I think says a lot. So for a first round pick, top 10 pick, to make those swing adjustments before ever struggling professionally, I think says a lot about the makeup. And for those adjustments to be successful for him, I think says a lot as well. And through his first 23 games, yes, he was productive, but he really did struggle with secondaries. And then he started to settle in more and more and more. And you started to see those swing adjustments shine through more and more and more. The first 23 games, non-fastballs, he hit 150 against with an OPS below 500. Since then, which is 34 games, and that includes 7 games at high A now, he is hitting against non-fastballs 420, 448, 617. The contact rate has jumped from 54% to 24% against non-fastballs. But now let's just talk about how good this guy has been in general.
Contact rate has jumped from 54 to 24? 54.
Oh, sorry, by 54 to 74.
Gotcha.
By
Okay.
20%. Thank you.
Okay.
Good catch. The other side of things that's so fascinating is he just continues to get better and better as he racks up more reps. So 33 games since then. I just read you the numbers against secondaries. Here's the overall numbers. 417, 471, 626 slash line. It's 1,097 OPS. And in that span, he has struck out 14% of the time. So he is slashing the swing and miss significantly because of the ability to hit secondaries, that contact rate jumping by 20% to 74%, but also just the overall contact rate jumping, the swing decisions improving. And by the way, he's playing a great shortstop. And I would have said it's kind of silly to think about the big league situation when you're developing an 18/19-year-old prospect. I liked him out of the draft as a plus center fielder, though he did have the potential to be an above average shortstop. Now I see a guy that can be a plus shortstop. And now with the way that he's performing, you can start to, I think, really start to believe that he could debut by 2026 at some point.
Of course.
And if you're thinking about it from that perspective of like, hey, this guy could be the latest to fly through the minor leagues, like the latest high school guy that it's just so damn good that you just push him like crazy. And I don't want to compare him to Bobby Witt, but like that kind of fly through the minor leagues type of situation.
Yeah.
That you have to start thinking about that because maybe the only position that is solidified in Pittsburgh is center field.
Right.
And so having that solidified there with O'Neal Cruz really developing into a solid defender there, I think you got to look at Connor Griffin and say, let's keep giving him the reps at shortstop. He looks great in center field, but he also looks great at shortstop. And that's been the area that's really floored me is I thought there'd be a big gap where it'd be, okay, he's a gazelle looking like a 70 defender potentially in center and maybe an above average shortstop. He looks like he could be a plus shortstop too. It's becoming almost impossible to poke a hole in this guy's game. And the piece is basically making an argument that he could be the number 1 overall prospect in baseball before long.
Wow. You can print the posters right now with Griffin at short, Cruz in center, and Hammer and Henry Davis behind the plate. That's really exciting stuff.
And that Skeens guy's all right.
That Skeens guy is fine, yeah, but Hank Davis is the thing really bringing people to the ballpark. All right, that's our program. Connor Griffin, possible future number 1 prospect in baseball, and All-Star voting is pretty good right now. There are some notable omissions, but so far, so good. Every link you need is in the episode description, including Aram's write-up on Connor Griffin. And with that, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.